Alright, this is Vegeta8259, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Gundam Figuration Shin Musha Gundam. Now, since I uploaded the unboxing video yesterday, I've had a couple people ask me what scale this is. And most figurations are 1 to 1/44 scale, including this guy. The metal composite figurations are 1 to 100 scale, although I'm not sure about Psycho Gundam and Psycho Gundam Mark II. I don't know if they're 1/100th or 1/144th, but anyway, I haven't really researched because I don't really have any interest in them. But anyway, back to Shin Musha Gundam. I'm going to try and make this a 2-part review, but it might end up being 3 parts. So I'm going to go ahead and get rolling. I kind of went into this with low expectations because I'd watched several other people's reviews of figurations. Not this one in particular, but just other Gundams from the figuration line. And I'd heard reports of, the figures being broken in the package before they already even opened them. I've heard of parts being broken easily after opening it. I'd heard that the paint job was crap. I'd heard that the articulation sucked. And having gone into this with those expectations, I have to say I was actually pleasantly surprised. I don't think it's as bad as everyone else made it out to be, at least from the reviews that I watched. So anyway, this is a completely pre-painted action figure. And in my opinion, a pretty damn good paint job, if you ask me. I mean, yeah, there are a few little mistakes, but then again, what do you expect from a mass-produced action figure? It's not like these are painted by hand. And even if they were painted by hand, they'd probably still have mistakes. But the paint job is better than any other Gundam action figure I've ever had, mostly being MSIAs. I don't have any HCM Pros or Robot Damashi figures. But anyway, for colors, you're going to get this red. It's kind of a brick red, not like a really bright red like you would see on a normal Gundam. You get black. You get a very, it's gold, but it's a very kind of a tarnished, almost rusty looking gold. You get gray for the joints, and that's about all the main... Oh, white, of course. And all the panel lines are filled in. I haven't done any painting on this figure at all. All the panel lines, all the detail work is already done out of the box. All the decals are there out of the box. So that's one advantage of a fixed figuration figure, is that you don't have to put any work into it. You just open it up and it's ready to display. So yeah, so as far as the paint job goes, I'll definitely give it a thumbs up. So anyway, on to articulation. The head is on a ball joint, just a single ball joint, and it can go up and down. It can go side to side just barely, not really much at all. And it can rotate 360, although with Shin Musha's bulky head armor, you'll have to be kind of careful with that. I was actually surprised that the torso has articulation. There's a mid-torso joint between the top part and the lower part, which gives him a little bit of forward and back movement. The waist is on a peg, and it can rotate about that far, but when you've got all this armor off, it can go 360. I'll show you that in the part when I switch the armor around. The arms I were especially surprised by. I did not expect them to have this joint. I wasn't counting on that at all. But yep, it's got a very master grade-esque joint, which lets it come out of the arm about that far. It allows the shoulder to go up and down a little bit. And then of course the arms can rotate 360. This big shoulder armor is kind of tricky. In fact, probably the most frustrating part of this figure is the shoulder armor, because it's like no matter how you do it, it just doesn't want to stay. So I'm just going to take this off for now. Actually, let me do the articulation on this first. These little gold pipes right here are connected to the red part with a little peg, so the shoulder armor can go up and down like so. And this black under shoulder armor actually has a little bit of articulation. This piece right here goes up and down, although I'm not really sure why. I mean, I've toyed around with this figure for a while, and I really can't find any function for that. But it's there. So anyway, the arms can go out about that far. They can't go very high up. And there's rotation below the shoulder. The elbows are double jointed, but you're only going to get about 90 degrees out of them. In fact, let me take this arm off and show you the elbow joint. It is double jointed, but this one down at the bottom of the elbow doesn't bend very far. Most of the movement is in the top of the elbow. So yeah. And the hands are just one piece, they don't move. They're connected with a ball joint. They don't move because Shin Musha comes with a whole bunch of hands. So it's pretty much the same concept as a high grade. Rather than having moving hands, just have a bunch of different hands in different poses. Let's see, the front skirt armor is on ball joints, and that can actually go up pretty far. It can go side to side a little bit and wiggle a bit. The side skirts are on a ball joint as well, but they are actually really tight, and they don't do much moving. That's one thing I have noticed about this figure, is that probably one of my few complaints about it is that a lot of the joints are inconsistent. For example, this arm is really loose, or this shoulder actually is really loose, whereas this shoulder is pretty tight. And like these shoulder armors are really loose, whereas the skirt armor is really tight. And it's just kind of inconsistent. Anyway, the back skirts, they can move, but because of this little center piece, it kind of blocks the movement, so they can't move very much, but they are on a little hinge. The hips are on a ball joint, just like a model kit, and so the legs can go up this far, and they can go back until they hit the back skirts. They can go out only about that far, but, whoops, the leg just like exploded. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a 3-part review. There is rotation below the hip, so you've got a rotation there. The knees are double jointed, but like the elbows, one part of the joint does most of the work, whereas the other part doesn't move very much. So you're going to get slightly more than 90 degrees. But again, when I show you this guy with the armor off, like he's already trying to do, the knees can actually bend a full 180 when it's stripped down to the quote-unquote inner frame. And the ankles actually have some pretty nice articulation. There's a double joint, and there's actually some pistons down in there that move around. So they can't go forward very much because of this big ankle armor, but they can go back, and they can go side to side quite a bit. And if the leg armor will stay on, they can rotate. They can't rotate 360 because of those pistons. And the ankle armor is separate, and there's actually a joint inside the foot, so the foot can bend. Actually bend pretty far. I don't think, no, this back half of the foot doesn't move, just the front half. Alright, so yeah, I think that about does it for articulation. I forgot, these thrusters on the backpack move a little bit, but not very much. So overall, I was surprised at how much articulation this guy has. I wasn't expecting him to be this poseable. Unfortunately, The only problem with the articulation is that some joints are too loose and some joints are too tight. So unfortunately, I think that's just something you're going to have to deal with. So I'm going to go ahead and end part 1, and I'll come back for part 2 and go over all of the weapons and accessories and do a few size comparisons.